These are my winding sticks. And what these are actually is just a piece of baluster rail that I cut into two pieces and placed them in a vise and planed them until they were exactly the same. Okay? And the way that you use them and the reason you need them is you can take these sticks, you can place one at one end of the board and then one at either the other end or anywhere in the middle that you want to check. You put it one end to the other and you look down it to look and see if there's any twist in the wood. When you sight along the tops of these, what you'll see is you'll either see that the top of this will meet the top of this on an even plane, or in this case, this side is higher, which means this board is twisted here and then here, because that's what wood does. It just does this number. And that's what they were designed for. Now, you can make winding sticks out of any kind of scrap you got laying on the floor. This is pine. This is 1x2 baluster rail pine. I didn't have anything else when I first started 8 years or so ago. And I grabbed these. I had some of these and I grabbed these and turned them into winding sticks. And they have been working for me all this time. But they're pine. And if you look, there's a piece of knot that basically ripped out here. Now, that doesn't affect anything because there's still a flat surface that's coplanar here. But since I have wood now, hardwood now I can make a set out of, I'm going to make a really nice set. And I'm going to show you how to make them, because you need a set if you're going to work wood with hand tools. So what I want to do, actually, let me set these aside. This is a piece of Padauk. It's about an inch thick, something like that. So the first thing I want to do, I want to bring this to a particular length. And the length that I want it at is the length that these are. Because they fit in my toolbox, my tool chest, the way I want them to. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to butt this up here like this. I don't know for sure what this length is. I'll check it in a minute. I think it's like 20 inches. So I'm going to make a mark here. And I'm going to find that mark right there. And I'm just going to make a cut. Now, I'm not really super worried about whether or not this is exactly square, but I've said it before, I'll say it again. You want to work towards square. You want to work, anytime you make a cut with a saw, what you want to do is shoot for accuracy all the time. Every time you make a cut, you want that cut it's accurate. Notice I'm sliding my knife into the knife line that I've made. You want to make the cut as accurately as you can. So I'm going to put this in my vise. You could use a bench hook. I prefer working in my vise. I have a bench hook, and I may time to time use one, but I just prefer to work in a vise. And I'm going to take my saw going to make that cut. I wonder, just for grins, that's dead straight that way and dead square that way. So beautiful, assuming these edges are square. What's the length of that? "21 3/4 inches. So what I want to do now, I want to try to find the direction of the grain. I think it's this way. I could be wrong. Also, this Padauk can have interlocking grain, which can make it difficult to plane. So I have my plane set very lightly because there's fuzz on this one section, this one edge. And I'm trying to take it right down the center. Of this board. Okay, so I'm going to back that off a little bit. That's square and that's square. And we're going to go one more full cut. Then we're going to check it again. That's square. And we're going to flip this. I think the grain is running that way. So we're going to do this side now. What's it look like for square to start out with? Pretty doggone good. I'm going to back up my blade a little bit. Taking small bites right now. Here, when it gets to there, it's skipping. It's not cutting now, it's starting to cut. That surface was not flat. It is now. And slightly out of square. I'm trying to get, there we go. There we go. Right. Down the center. One continuous shaving. And back to that again. Take it off. Square. Almost. You notice? I'm not cutting really thick, heavy shavings. I don't need them. Close enough. Let's go one more, 2 or 3 more on this side. And what I'm doing, there we go. It was high on this side. So because the plane doesn't go all the way to the edges, if I push the plane over to the side so that this is flush with the low side, it'll only cut over here on this side. And it will square my board. That's square. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take a that's square. So everything is nice and flat and square all the way around. When I look down this board, my eye tells me that it's beautifully straight. So if this is straight all the way along, what about thickness? Alright, this is not quite as thick on this end as it is on that end. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark this board because I have to plane it down where it's the same thickness. Alright, so I'm going to follow this edge I'm just gonna do one of these movements. Because I want the thing completely parallel all the way along. So it goes. The rain's going this way. So I'm high on this side, right? So I'm gonna put my plane in the center. And I'm gonna shoot. This I need glasses because I can't see my marks. So I'm gonna and that is pretty close to even. So now I'm gonna go along the board. I'm going to constantly check, try to be as square as I can. Okay. Square and of even thickness all the way along its length now. So now what we have to do is split this down the middle. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my my marking gauge, and I'm going to go like, and just kind of guesstimate what center is. And then I'm going to go make a mark there, and I'm going to come over to the other side. And if you look, don't know if you can see or not, but I have a mark. I don't quite reach center, but I have a line here and a line here, and I want that. Because what I want to do now is I want to take this marking gauge and I want to come down the center of this board All right. Okay, so I have that line is carried over, and I want to do the same on this side. And you want to hold that fence as tight to the side of this board as you can get it. All right, so now I have a line all the way around down the center of that board, right? So what I want to do now is I want to come over here. I want to tighten that up and make sure it don't slip. I want to come over here, do the same thing. Holding that marking gauge tight, that fence tight to this board. There's a reason for my madness. Just bear with me. And I want to go okay, so now I have a double line down the center of this board. I don't know, can you see that? So we're going to put this in the vise like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a rip saw, hand saw, and I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to saw in between those two lines. Okay, I've made a mark there, and what I want to do, back up, is I want to go across the top here, because what I'm trying to do is cut this as straight and as even as I can. So I have that line across the top, right? I have a line started down between those two lines, right? So I'm going to start dropping my hand what I'm using is this line and this line. Let me see if I can do it a little bit more. I'm going to put it kind of low in the vise. I'm using this line and this line as a guide for my saw. And I will come down the center of this board a bit. Alright, and then I'm going to flip over. And I'm going to come down the center this way. There we go. So I'm going to, once again, you see that my saw is kind of in that curve. Okay? Why? Because I want to use that to make my saw cut straight. I'm going to go down a little bit, and I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to come in my saw curve, and I'm going to go down. And you see now the saw is trapped between these saw curves. And so if I'm careful and don't push the saw one way or the other, in other words, if I just saw normal, don't put any pressure on the saw handle, I'm just relaxing my grip. And sawing down that line, that curve that I've got started will guide my saw. It'll keep it on track. So, comfortable? See, I'm just doing it, I'm not really, you see that? I don't know if you can see my hand or not. I'm not really doing much of anything. I don't have a big, huge death grip on my saw. Everything is relaxed. We're just going to keep doing this, flipping back and forth. See, now the curve is closing up, so I want to, right, do that right there. Come here, you. And you just gotta, this vise would work a lot better, but it is outside and exposed to the elements, and the jaws have warped and carried on. I've sawn it, or planed it rather, to try to flatten it out, straighten it out, but okay, see, I straightened it out. It was trying to drift here. So I pushed the saw plate, I pulled it out, and I used this side of the teeth to bring it back in line. Do you see how, if you look at that, the saw curve is kind of drifting that way? So I can take this saw, I can put it in this curve, and I can come up like this, and I can use the side of these teeth to push that back in line. I don't know if you saw it, you can see that or not. I hope that you can. The curve pretty much will help you to do this, but every now and then you got to kind of check, make sure that you're cutting straight, and if you're not, then you'll have to adjust and get the saw back on track, and that's how you do it. And it's back and forth, because if you go too far on one side, you'll end up going off, like I was showing you that the saw was kind of going off. That's what happens. You can really lose control really fast if you let that go on any time at all. All right, so what I have now is I'm down to where I need to kind of flip this over. But understand, you have a guide all the way around. So if I stay in between those lines, I should meet pretty close down here. So we're going to do the exact same thing we did when we started. I don't know if I hope you can see what I'm doing. Following that curve that I made up top, and I'm slowly dropping the saw teeth. You see? You're basically creating like a little V in here. That you'll take out with the saw as you come along. Like I'll come down here like this. All right, and I see I was a little off, so I'm gonna straighten that again. See how that line is meeting now? All right. All right, that line is met. So now we have a V-notch between these two sections here, and we're just going to go carefully and slowly now, because we've almost got it done. We don't want to mess anything up now. And we're through. And that's fairly even, right? The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to butt these up and plane them both at the same time, but I might not be able to do that. So. All I'm trying to do is smooth this surface out. Let's try that way and see what that does. It's not really critical. I don't have to have these the exact same thickness. What's critical to these is that they be perfectly aligned with one another, and these are. I just made them so. Yeah, see? So we want to go nice and smooth this way. Beautiful. And there is nothing at all wrong with that surface. Hopefully you saw that. So now they're perfectly the same. What I want to do now, I want to take this and basically what I'm doing with this, I have two of these two boards that are coplanar. Okay. But what I want is I want a little bit of visual interest on either end of the board that's farther away from me, so that when I lower my head and sight across the top, there's a contrast there that will let me know that it'll let me see much better what's going on. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this here like this, and I'm going to lay this like that, just because I feel like that'll hold that there, help hold that. And I'm just going to go make me a mark. And I'm angling the knife in quite a bit because I actually don't want it to be quite as deep. What we're doing, we're just cutting this out, just like if you were doing a hinge on a door or something like that. That's all we're doing. That's all basically this is. I'm just coming along. I've got the bevel pointed away so that when I strike, it'll push it like this and raise these up. And my line on this end, I started about 1/8 inch from my line. I'm going to sneak up on that so that that bevel doesn't push this over and push me past where I want that line to be. So I got excited doing this and didn't hit record at the beginning, so I thought I better explain that to you so you understand what's going on. What I'm going to do I'm going to come into this line very carefully, and I'm just going to do that. Just, because I don't want it moving. Then I'm going to come back here, and back here. And I want to go along here now, along this line. But I want to be careful, because if I tap that too hard, this will act like a wedge, and it will split right along the grain line. So we're going to be gentle. And what I'm doing, I've made a little indentation cut there, and I'm going to come and put that in that indentation about halfway along, and then lay it so that I keep a straight line without too much deviation. And right in this end, I'm going to be really careful. What I'm going to do now, put this in here like this, and I'm going to take this chisel and I'm kind of not just pushing. If you see what I'm doing, I'm kind of cutting. Okay? And I'm going to be gentle, because I don't want to tear out here. You don't have to do what I'm doing here. These winding sticks will work without this little inlay piece. I just have made cheap ones, and I don't want to make them again, so I'm going to make one that looks really nice and works really nice, and that's going to be. But you don't need, you can do furniture work, you can do woodworking. The most important thing you need is a hammer and chisel, a mallet and a chisel, a set of chisels, a saw, and a hand plane. If you have those, you can pretty much do whatever you need to do. And we're going to show you on this channel that that's true. It's all in whether or not I'm going to use care. In making. You can do it. All right, so I'm going to take this out now, and I'm going to lay it on here. I want to put that up against there. I want to be really careful, because I'm not trying to move this wall. I want this to fit right in there. Okay, so let's see if we can turn it around this way. I have my chisel tilted so that the bevel is basically straight up and down. I think that's what, actually no, so that the bevel is tilted back a bit. Because what I want to do, I want to help that bevel push this wood back toward this wall here. Not when I'm right on the wall, but when I'm back in here. Because I want to try to peel this wood up and remove it as quickly as I can. You don't have to go as fast as I'm going. I'm going that fast because I can. Speed a lot of times is the enemy of good work. Just so you know. Hands. I'm old. Arthritis. All right. Actually, after that again, I keep forgetting it. I want to once again, be very, very careful here that you don't split the wood. I'm making that mark, coming about halfway up to that knife cut, that chisel cut. Tilting my chisel down so that I'm trying to make a straight wall. And right here at the end, I want to be particularly kind to it, if you want to call it that. I called it that. So yeah. And I'm going to do now, I could actually probably just go like that right there. Probably. See? Be careful. And what I'm doing, the area that I cut, I'm running my chisel on that flat area and coming along like that. You understand what I mean? Lovely. Where's my piece of maple? All right. Go straight up. I'm going to tap that gently because, why? Because I don't want to push the wall back. Now I think I've probably got enough wood behind it that won't happen. But doesn't hurt. Be very cautious. This is precision, as precision of handwork as we can do. Okay, we're not in a hurry. You're not doing this for a living. You're doing this because you always wanted to do this. And never cost thought you could, but you've seen all these people online now that are doing it. And so you're trying your hand at it. And I'm doing my best to help you. Once again, you don't have to go as fast as I'm going. I know you're going to want to, because when I saw people like Paul Sellers, and they don't even realize that they're moving fast. It's just they've done it for so long that it's quick for them. I'm not there yet. But in this, I can. But anyway, I had the temptation to, it's like with sawing. You see them and they get that saw lined up in the cut, and then, buddy, they're hammering it. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go at a measured pace so that I can cut as square as I possibly can. All right. I'm going to tap this again. Gently, carefully. When I get down toward this in. And go very carefully. Very careful. All right. In the vise. So we're going to go like this. All right, we're going to go like this. Be very, very careful. Want to take that out. Right, I need to be careful and have a clean, so I'm going to take a strop. I'm going to do that number right there, because I want nice clean cut. And to be the king. of a vestal man, or beheld in sin's dread sweat. Beautiful. We need to go. So now I know I'm not even here, right? So very light cuts. Very, very light cuts. But I'd rather do it like this. And all that I am doing is I'm looking at the lip I got left, and I want that even. So that the channel, the bottom of this is flat. That's what we're after. The bottom of this cavity is, I want it flat. That's all I'm after, is that everything's flat and smooth. All right. Want this corner really nice and clean. what I'm doing, I want to make absolutely certain, and I think we're going to go like that. Yeah, beautiful. All right. And I'm just kind of using the flat of my chisel and the bottom of this, the flat part of the bottom of this channel, to try to get it as evenly flat as I can. Want to get in that corner. And in that corner. And there we are. Gorgeous. All right. Once we glue that in there, we're going to glue that in with some super glue because we have it. We'll put a bunch of it on there. I'm just gonna clamp this down good and tight. I'm gonna do the other side as well. We'll be back when the glue dries. And here's the finished product. I lost the footage of completing the inlays and putting finish on, but it has 3 or 4 coats of shellac on it. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later.